Chelsea calling in from North Carolina. Chelsea, you're live on Truth Wanted. What's up?
Hey, Willow. How's it going? Oh, wait. Also, Dan.
So me. Yeah. But no, that's great. Willow's, I guess Willow's hosting
Dan,
tonight.
But Willow, it's Willow. She's here today. Wait,
oh, yeah.
Ask, is your pronoun she?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure because I forgot. It's been a while since I've seen your channel. But yeah, I wanted to talk about gaslighting. My mom has been particularly, let's just say, gaslighting with me a lot throughout my life. It's just been going on for so long. I think she doesn't even realize she's doing it. And like, it's really gotten to the point where I just feel like I don't like her. I hate to say the word, I don't love her anymore. It just feels like I've lost all, there we go. I feel like I've lost all love for her that I had left because I am trans myself. I think that might have something to do with it because I'm also an atheist. And when I came out as atheist, there was some gaslighting then, like, and then when I came out as trans, oh my God, that was even worse. That was way worse than coming out as atheist.
Sure.
And
yeah, I can't even imagine.
Bitterness there. Yeah, there's been some bitterness there. And really, I can give you a few examples of some gaslighting, like.
Well, let me ask you this before we get into it. Sure. And first of all, I should emphasize, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a counselor. I am not registered in any medical capacity to give any kind of advice in that regard. I'm like the equivalent of Dr. Phil, except better, because I'm not going to send you to drug therapy clinics that don't work. I'm going to give a perspective, but that's the best I can do for you, Chelsea. I will say this. So let's talk about this relationship, because I have also had issues with my family in regards to my identity, that being an atheist. Right. And that's caused issue because, hey, I'm here on a call-in show, talking to people and doing this kind of thing. And, I've had to set up good boundaries for that, but I had to make a decision as well as to how much I want to have them in my life. If it was a big enough issue where they couldn't handle who I was, because this is who I was, I had to figure out what was going to work and what wasn't. Thankfully, I was able to work something out, but it's the equivalent of a kind of don't ask, don't tell situation, right? I don't really talk to my parents about this kind of my life, and they don't ask about it. And you know what? That's the kind of relationship I've worked out. Is that something that you think is feasible for your relationship with your mom, or is this something where you don't think it's even salvageable at this point? That it's just gone too far? What do you think?
I would say.
Oh, and we got a little bit of issues here with the calls tonight, but that is okay. We'll try to circle back around with you, Chelsea, if you come back and talk to us. But I will say this. Dealing with people in your life is hard. People are already hard enough as this. Family can sometimes be even harder. I think I've said something like this before, but I find talking to complete strangers on the internet about what they believe and why is way easier than doing it with people I know. Because with people there's like this, they kind of know you know them, they know your quirks, you know their quirks. There's some psychology that goes into it, but there's also history that goes into it as well. And that can be really, really difficult. If you find that you don't need people in your life and that they're causing you more harm than good, then it's okay to separate. I think as a Christian, I was taught, you have to try to reconcile with everybody. But I don't know if I believe in that anymore. I try to reconcile as much as I can, but sometimes you just can't. And Chelsea, it sounds like we got you back here. Okay. So, I believe I just asked, something about, what is your relationship with your mom? Do you, in your opinion, do you feel like it's salvageable at this point? Do you feel like it's healthy for you?
It's not healthy at all, but I kind of have to depend on her until I can find somebody else.
Okay. So it's like a financial dependence a little bit.
A little bit of that. And well, mostly that actually.
Okay.
So I've got people that can support me in other ways, like emotionally and
That's good.
a little bit of financial.
So if I could step in here,
Stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sure.
go for it,
I
Willow.
don't want to get into details. But whenever you say gaslighting, do you mean she's saying things to you that you know aren't true about yourself, or do you mean that she's trying to blame you for things you didn't do? Can you just like quickly, vaguely describe what kind of what the relationship dynamic is here?
What was the first one that you mentioned? I agree with the blame thing. She does do that, but what was the first one?
So she want to know
Telling you things about yourself that you know are not true. Because you said it became worse after you came out to her as trans rather than atheist. So I'm trying to just make sure I understand what you mean by the term gaslighting.
It's a mix of both, honestly.
So
Okay.
it's a mixture of her telling you things about yourself that you know are not true, but also her blaming you for things.
Correct.
Well, I experienced something similar whenever I came out to my parents as atheist. The pushback was surprisingly little. And then whenever I came out trans, I guess because it had to do with pee-pee parts, oh my God, that was just unacceptable. And unfortunately, I don't know exactly what it's like to be in your position because I was kicked out within 4 days. So I wasn't in I wasn't in a dependent area or situation like you are. It is good to know that you know what she's saying is not true, because you can at least take solace in that what she's saying is not reality, and that should at least help some of those comments to bounce off. Because if what she's saying is either just bigotry or is just hateful, it will hurt while you're stuck there. And that's not a healthy place to be. But if you are stuck there, what you can try to do is surround yourself with loving comments, whether that's friends outside of your house because you can't get them there, or friends on the internet, or something that counters that, especially if it's LGBTQ type friends or friends that affirm you and can help you in that area, to try to keep you from falling victim to believing what you know is really not the case. Does that make sense?
For sure.
It does. And I've got like a bunch of friends now that I've come out as trans myself. Especially one of them that I made recently. She's also trans. They go by she, they. And she's just been amazing to me. We clicked just like that, like, you know, but she's been amazing when she's been very open. I think it helped that we were both trans and we've been able to meet in person and all that. Because most people that I know that are trans, we've only met like one time. And this person I've met like a number of times. And we got to know each other so well in just a short amount of time. We just clicked.
Yeah.
She's been.
I'm reminded, Chelsea.
Talk about my mom. Go ahead. Sure.
You know, I'm just reminded of this because, again, going back to my experience, again, just I'm a cis person, obviously, but you know, I did have to come out of the closet and being an atheist, right? And there's I'm told at least there's some parallels for those who have experienced both, and I remember reading on r/atheism, you know, like on Reddit, other people's advice on like, oh, what do you do when you have to rely on your parents? You know, I remember reading other college kids and other folks who were younger trying to figure out what do you do, and the advice that I took away from that the most, more than anything else, was that you're the mode that you have to think about is just survival. That's it. You're surviving at this point, and the goal is to get to a place where you don't have to be financially dependent, on those who don't support you emotionally, right? Because it's hard. It's hard when you got one and not the other. If you're still able to find financial help from your mom, I'd say that try to use that as a resource as best you can. But again, your goal is survival. Your goal is to get to a place where you can be happy living with yourself and who you are. And as a human being, you deserve that. I think all human beings deserve that, to live in a world where they can be comfortable, live in a world where they don't have to be questioned by their very existence, right? Obviously, we do a lot of questioning here, but we don't question people to the point where we don't want to make them feel comfortable for just being them. Like that's beyond beyond the scope of what we would want to do. So again, I'd harken back to this advice of figure out your plan, figure out a game plan, and plan for the long haul. Because unfortunately, it sounds like that's all you can do at this point. And one of the things it sounds like you are covering is your emotional support with some friends that you've been able to meet and people you've been talking to. That's great. People always suggest you have to find community in times where things get really, really hard, and you just got to lock down because it's just a bumpy road. But I hope anyway, you can take comfort in the fact that other people have walked the road you have walked before and have not only survived, but have thrived. And you can too, if you're patient enough and you're willing to get through it. So I think that's really all the perspective I can give to this situation, Chelsea, because other than saying, I am so sorry that you have to deal with that. I hope that hearing from other people, and probably people who are talking in the live chat right now and people who are giving comments right now who can relate to that situation, you can say that you're not alone, because you really aren't.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I am really sorry that you're going through that. There's nothing that I can just directly do from the other side of the stream than just give you my emotional support, unfortunately. But I think the most important thing you can do, kind of like Dan said, is make sure you're not going at it alone.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, that's what I had to do for about a year and a half, just because of the situation I was in whenever I got kicked out, my background and where I was and my social network and my personality. I was essentially alone except for my therapist. And that's a really unhealthy place to be, especially whenever you're getting bombarded by people who are telling you who you are is not okay. It's not good to be this way. You're sinful, you're evil, or being gay is disgusting, or whatever the case may be, even if it's not trans related stuff. Trying to handle that alone is really, really hard, and it's not healthy. And you just need to make sure that you're not trying to bear that by yourself. I think that's probably the most important thing you could do while you're stuck in a situation that, unfortunately, it sounds like requires you to bear the brunt of some of that right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Really, I came in here asking about, I think I may have found my answer, but I came in here to ask about, like, how can I get my mom to think about what she's doing? And yet I came out with another answer, or option, I should say, that I don't have to put up with her bullshit.
Exactly.
For lack of a better word.
It's exactly it. You found that you cannot control people. You cannot, this is a show about asking what people believe and why. My responsibility isn't to change people's minds. It's not. People have to figure that out for themselves. I can give people the tools. I can give people those conversations all day, whenever they want. Well, at least on Fridays at 7 p.m. Central, right? Like I will do that for people, and I will talk with them. But change comes from that person. I can't change them. They have to change themselves. If you have given your mother your most honest and best attempt to help describe who you are now and what that means for you going forward, and she doesn't accept that, that's her problem.
It is not your job
Yeah.
to validate your basic humanity to other people.
Yeah.
That's not your job.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, if they disagree with you over science and whatnot and transgenderism and all that sort of stuff, there's a debate to be had about that. But someone who's your parent and whether or not you deserve their basic love and dignity.
Yeah.
You should not have to debate them on that, and
Yep.
it's not your job to try to make them offer you that.
Yep.
That's not your responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate this conversation. I came in, looked for something else, and I got something else.
Hey,
You are so welcome. Thank you for calling.
Thank you
that's
for
life
having me.
sometimes, right, Chelsea? Well, I appreciate you calling in. Thanks so much. I hope, again, just giving a perspective is all I can offer here. But I hope that perspective is useful for you in your own self-reflection. Highlights of that call again, for those of you who are also going through similar situations, okay? Finding support is the best thing to do, and coming up with a plan to figure out what's next. Because if you can't figure out how that's going to work with the people in your life, you have to move on. There's no reason you have to torture yourself.